There we are. Hey, everybody. Hope you're doing great. Welcome to the weekly Roundup stream on a Monday night. I don't know if anyone caught the stream from last night. Last night, unfortunately, I did a Windows update yesterday, and with Windows updates, every once in a while, OBS misbehaves, and the microphone settings like to change. The microphone was muted throughout the entire stream last night. So here I am again, re-recording what is in essence a video lesson. Here's the thing about me as a teacher. I am a better teacher to live classes than I am to pre-recorded webcams in this case. When I have people to interact with, I feel like I do my best. So this is my way of hybridizing my approach to creating my video lessons by using Twitch to live stream it, where sometimes we have people watching, or at least I can lie to myself and pretend that I'm talking to somebody directly while giving a video class. So anyway, if you're not following, make sure you type !socials into the Twitch chat, and that's going to populate a list of active social media accounts, the YouTube, the Twitter, the Instagram. All of these videos are reposted on YouTube. You'll see them on Twitch for, I think, 30 days, and then they disappear. But I always take them, clip them, and add them to the YouTube account. So you can catch, we now have, this is 11. This is the 11th video lesson I've done on Twitch. That's exciting, right? That's double digits. We have more than 2 hands now. So anyway, make sure you follow over on YouTube. I'll post there. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and like on YouTube to keep the content flowing and keep it pushing out for new people to join us for the discussions that we have in the YouTube comments. Again, we're growing. We're getting there. Things are improving. Also here on Twitch, all the twa. It's not even called Twitter anymore. It's called X, isn't it? Make sure you follow here too, because we grow this follower number to 50, and I'm able to access the affiliate control panels and add some more elements that will be fun to use during these streams. Anyway, one more order of business. Let's take a look at this map. If you haven't already, don't click. Scan this QR code here, and it will bring up this map in Mentimeter. And I'm not collecting information. It won't collect an email address. It won't collect phone numbers, nothing like that. I won't even know who you are. But if you scan this little QR code, it will bring up this map, and do your best to tap where you're from. It's interesting to follow and know who's from different places around the world, where you are, and to see if we have a majority of people from Europe, majority of people from Asia, or a majority of people from the Southern Atlantic Ocean down here near South America, which I doubt. I doubt that's where that mark is supposed to be. My guess is that is Facu from Argentina, somewhere in this area. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this lesson. I'd like to make sure I record this one in just around a half hour. That's my plan. Usually, or lately, I've been going above an hour with these, and they're really only intended to be 20 to 30 minutes in length. Of course, sometimes we have questions that extends things, but I'm also learning that the longer I go, or the longer time I take throughout the week to respond to my questions and answers for the English at the Ready Club, the more thoughts I have to add and recap the week in these weekly roundups. This week, there are 12 slides. Usually we have 4, but this week, it's 12. Here we go. The topic is to get around. Getting around. How you get around town. For English at the Ready, our topic was transportation, which get around is it's a phrasal verb that we use that means to move from place to place. To get around town. Get around could also mean there's something blocking your way, and then you go around or get around an object. In this case, we're talking to move from place to place. For example, in a big city, it's often easier to get around using public transportation rather than driving. She gets around town on her bicycle, enjoying the exercise and fresh air. Can't see my microphone setting, and I just want to make sure this has levels increasing as I'm speaking, so I know the recording is happening this time. Thank goodness it is. All right, the first important slide. There are 4 ways to get around a city that are all very similar. These words, 10 years ago, I might have taught that there was a slight difference between them. Nowadays, they're all very common, but some of them have different regional uses. These terms all refer to urban public transportation systems, primarily featuring trains that run either completely or partially underground. So, subway trains, underground trains, the tube trains, the metro trains. We can call them trains. They're compartments linked together and pulled along by a motorized or electric vehicle that's in the front. Even a maglev, like the Shanghai maglev, we call it a maglev train because of the way the cars are linked. Their usage varies by region and context. The following 4 slides will discuss their definitions and regional use in detail. If I sound like my voice is almost gone, it's the end of a Monday evening. Mondays and Wednesdays are my busiest days. I begin around 8:30 in the morning. My last class was right before the stream began at 9 p.m., so excuse my voice. The first word, subway. Subway. Sub means under or beneath. It's the under way, the way beneath the city. It's an urban transit system of trains running on tracks, typically underground, used to transport passengers within a city. The regional use, it's commonly used in North America, particularly in the United States and Canada. For example, the New York City subway and the Toronto subway. This is something I learned while looking this up. In Toronto, they call it the Toronto subway. Again, in New York City, they call it the New York City subway. It's very famous in New York. When you travel outside of New York, still in the US, we use other words to describe this underground train. Again, subway is most common in New York City. It's very, very famous. There's a restaurant named after the New York subway called Subway, right? Subway sandwiches. They're long, train-like sandwiches. The next word is underground. Underground is a railway system in a city, especially one that is below the surface of the ground. So you're noticing already, these are urban transit systems, typically underground. Again, typically doesn't mean always. Typically means usually, normally. The underground, a railway system in a city, below the surface of the ground, especially one, but not always one, that is below the surface of the ground, underground. Regional usage. Predominantly, this is used in the United Kingdom. The term underground is famously associated with the London Underground. So if you go to London, you'll find the London Underground. Other subways, I don't want to say the other words yet, but the other underground trains are often called undergrounds in England, in the UK. Now, in London itself, there's another word that's used, the tube. The tube. It's a colloquial term. Colloquial means it's in one location. It's a local term. This is related to the word collocation. A collocation. A collocation is a way of putting words together in a certain dialect or a certain form of the language. American collocations are different than British English collocations. So a colloquial term specifically for the London Underground, specifically, spicy vocabulary, specifically for the London Underground. Outside of London, I've never heard this word used for any other underground subway system anywhere else in the world. Regional uses or usage, obviously, it's unique to London, England. The term tube refers to the deep cylindrical tunnels used by many lines of the London Underground. Again, cylindrical tunnels, we call a long cylindrical tunnel or a long cylindrical, what do I want to call this? a long cylindrical conduit. We call these tubes, right? Underneath our homes, we have tubes, conduits, for electrical wires, for water. These are tubes. So the London Tube is shaped like these tubes, but with trains running through them. So the tube, the underground tube, you might even say. The last word is metro. Again, this is a rapid transit system, usually within an urban area, which can both run above and below ground. Metro is derived from the term metropolitan. So it's short for metropolitan. I have heard people call this the Metropolitan Rail. I've never heard someone call it just the Metropolitan, but I imagine you could use it and it could be understood. But we call it the Metro. Here in Washington, D.C., we have a Metro. In Atlanta, Georgia, there's the Metro. When I lived in Shanghai, China, they had the Shanghai Metro, and so on and so forth. I believe this is the most common word that's used for rapid transit systems in an urban area, trains that are above and also below ground. 10 years ago, this is the word specifically I was talking about earlier. 10 years ago, I might have said that a subway is almost always underground. When you go to New York City and you go to Astoria, Queens, that train comes out from the underground and the Astoria, Queens stop is above ground. So even the New York subway is partially above ground. Again, in the past, as I knew them, metros were mostly above ground and sometimes underground. Nowadays, in the DC Metro, there are large areas that are above ground. Coming out to my house, we have the end of one of the longest rail lines very close to us here. That for maybe 1 hour's ride, almost 1 hour, probably 50 minutes or so, you're above ground. But once you get to the city, they're all underground at that point. So again, underground, subway, tube, metro, they're all rapid transit systems on rail, usually within an urban area that can run both above and below ground. The regional uses for the word metro, it's used globally, but is particularly common in Europe, Latin America, and parts of Asia. Examples include the Paris Metro, the Moscow Metro, and the Delhi Metro. So again, in my experience, metro is the most common term, but make sure you know where you are, because in London, the London Tube. In New York or Toronto, the subway. I believe even in Vancouver, it's the Vancouver Metro. Correct me in chat if I'm wrong. Let me know. If you're watching on YouTube later, let me know in the YouTube comments what you call your citywide rail-based rapid transit system. Again, subway, underground, tube, and metro. These 4 words are very similar, but they have regional differences. They mean the same thing as far as the type of train, but depending on where you live, you'll use a different word. These words are very similar to the ones we discussed before. Parking lot, car park, parking deck, and parking garage. All of these words refer to designated areas where vehicles can be parked. Designated, you might see the word design in there, but notice we say designated. The S sounds kind of like a Z most of the time. You can say it designated, designated. That's okay. But most of the time when you hear it, it will sound like designated. The G you pronounce, designated. It means that the area was designed or planned for a certain use. Designated. However, they differ based on regional uses, structure, and context. The following 4 slides will discuss their definitions and regional use in detail. Here we go. Check and make sure we don't have any questions. Good to go. Good. All right. First, we have a parking lot. This one, in my opinion, is the most generally used word in the US. It's a parking lot. I parked my car in the parking lot. They may ignore the other words and just say the parking lot. Parking lots are generally open to the sky. This is what I was saying throughout my classes this week. And I'm very happy to see this in the definition of a parking lot. An open area or paved ground where vehicles can be parked. It's typically uncovered and found adjacent to buildings like shopping centers, offices, or public places. Again, parking lots are normally open to the sky above them. They're outside of buildings and they're uncovered. They aren't multi-leveled. Regional usage. This word is commonly used in North America, particularly in the United States and in Canada. So most often, parking lot is what you'll hear in the United States and in Canada. We also have this one, a car park. A car park, this is British English. If you say this to an American, we may or may not know what you're saying. I'm going to say we won't. When I first heard it, I thought, is this a park that I go to sit and relax, have lunch, and look at classic cars or something? No, it's a designated area for parking vehicles, which can be either an open area, like a parking lot, or a multi-story structure. It's a more general term that can include both uncovered and covered parking. A car park. So this word isn't just for the flat, hard surfaced areas with designated parking spaces. It's also for multi-story structures. So this word in British English is more general than the word parking lot. We will use the word parking lot sometimes for a multi-storied building, but there's another word that we'll use in the US much more often. Regional uses, predominantly used in the United Kingdom and other Commonwealth, former British Empire, countries. British English, car park. It's general for parking lots, and our next word, parking decks. A parking deck is a multi-level structure with multiple floors or levels for parking vehicles. It can be open air or partially covered, but it is distinct for having multiple levels. So think about the buildings you see where there are 5, 6, 7 levels. And these, you can often see the cars. When you look from the outside, there's open space between each level and you can see the cars inside. That's a parking deck. It's vertical. It's layer after layer, like a deck of cards. You have one card, then when you stack, 50 cards? Am I right or wrong? Why have I forgotten this? Maybe 52 cards. Somebody correct me there. How many cards are in a card deck? It's 52. 52 card pickup. So the 52 cards in a card deck are stacked on top of each other. We use the word deck. A deck of cards, and a parking deck. This is used in North America and sometimes in other English-speaking countries. Parking deck. Now, if you go underground, you might call it an underground parking deck when it has multiple levels. Again, that's the key, is it has multiple levels. Underground parking deck is okay to say. But if it's underground, it's enclosed. Because when you go underground, no open air and open sky. You're underground. So the area is enclosed. For enclosed parking, we use the word parking garage, which can be a multi-level or, this is most important, or fully enclosed structure where vehicles are parked. It's usually covered and can be underground, above ground, or a combination of both. Parking deck, parking garage, parking lot. These three words overlap quite a lot for Americans speaking American English. Technically, parking lot is open to the sky, right? It's not inside of a building. A building that has multiple levels above ground should be a parking deck. A parking garage might be underground, could be above ground. If it's one level and it has one entrance connected to a building, you drive in and you park in, I don't know, 20, 30, 40 parking spaces. That's a parking garage. It's enclosed. The idea is it's protected. You've parked in a parking garage. But when it goes underground, it's a bit of a gray area because you're underground, so naturally it's enclosed. But there are many levels, which sounds like a parking deck, But because it's enclosed and there are many levels, calling it a parking garage might be the best choice. Again, let me know what you think about these words, or let me know how you use these words in chat, or if you're watching on YouTube, let me know in the comments how you've heard these words used. All right, for this week, our questions of the week, we just have two. Have you ever had any bad experiences when using public transport in foreign cities? What do you think is the most dangerous form of transportation and why? Please leave your responses in the comment section on YouTube. And I look forward to hearing what you have to say. Look forward to hearing your stories, seeing some conversations between the two of you, between the many of you. I'm telling you what, my brain, like I said, Monday night, it's one of my 2 busiest days through the week. And I've taught, 8 classes? I've just been talking all day. So, excuse me. Answer these questions in the YouTube comment section. Have some conversation. I look forward to seeing what you have to say. I will chime in and have some comments based on your comments. But what a lot of my students have said is that they've fortunately not had a lot of bad experiences, which is excellent. My worst experience was here in the US. I've lived in China, I've lived in Argentina, but here in the US, my wife and our 2 kids, 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, were waiting at Newark Airport for a bus to take back to the Airbnb we were staying at in Elizabeth, New Jersey. This bus, it was the last bus of the night. I had a class, an English class to teach an hour later. This bus, we see it coming down the straightaway, coming down the drive. You know, we're standing right under the sign. There's no one else around. We're thinking, this is our bus. Here we are. We're going to go back, teach my classes, and get some sleep. What do you think that bus did? What do you think happened? Zoom. That bus flew right by us. It went right on. I couldn't believe it. I stepped out on the road. Hey, stop. He didn't stop. Not at all. I called that company the next day and I said, look, I told my story. We were there with 2 little girls, 5 years old, 3 years old. Bus didn't stop. It was going 45. It had to have been going at least 45 miles per hour along the way. I couldn't believe it. That's my worst story. I was so mad. It could be worse, though. It could be worse. What do you think is the most dangerous form of transportation and why? The most dangerous form, statistically, is driving an automobile, driving a car. Driving in cars, we have more car accidents around the world than in any other vehicle. So statistically, this is a good word when you describe something that's based on metrics or based on numbers and not on the way people feel about something. Statistically, driving a car is the most dangerous form of transportation. Statistically, on the other hand, flying on a plane is the least dangerous form of transportation. But it's the one that most people reported this week as being the scariest, as being seeming like it would be the most dangerous. And I asked people why they thought that. And it was interesting. The majority of people said, because I feel like I don't have control when I'm flying in a plane. Right? And I thought about this, and I think personally, I'd feel better flying the plane, being the pilot, if the plane's crashing, than sitting in a seat where I have absolutely no control over what's happening. At least if I'm the pilot, maybe I have an idea of how to land the plane gently. I can have a soft landing and everyone will be okay. I mean, at least I can think that until we don't, and then it doesn't matter. But there's something about sitting in a seat and being out of control that scares me personally. And most of my students agreed with that. Let me know what you think about that. And do you agree that being out of control on a crashing plane is less scary than being in an accident when you're in control and behind the wheel of your car? Interesting thought. Very interesting thought. All right, you all. I think I'm going to call it here tonight. We'll go back to our talk box here for just a moment. If you have any questions, please go ahead and ask here in the chat. But this is just a quick re-recording of last night's lesson that I'll tell you what, I was so proud of that lesson. I felt so good about it. It was 44 minutes and I felt like, I don't know, I felt like I nailed it, you know? And then to catch that had no audio this morning when I went to when I copied it and then I went to edit it to put it on YouTube, I couldn't believe it. Things happen. Stay la vie. Whenever I see it or whenever you guys catch it, let me know. I'll always re-record, I promise. Hopefully the second recording is half as good as the first recording. Look, if you're looking for regular classes with me or any of my colleagues, check us out at englishattheready.com. You can also go to English at the Ready on Instagram. You'll see my colleague, Michael Anton. He's an excellent English teacher. He's the reason I'm teaching online like this again and creating content. So check him out on Instagram. Check us out, English at the Ready. Bridge gaming, that's what this is here. We do play some games on Friday night and Saturday nights. The emphasis is really on these classes. This is my outlet to give some free English classes to people who are watching on Twitch, who are in the Just Chatting section here. I hope you use these classes to just brush up on your English, learn some new words, discuss with each other. This is what I really want to see, is discussions in the chat and discussions in the YouTube comments for the post stream that I post later. If you're not following the Discord, you can use the Discord. You can always find me there. You can always ask questions on Discord. We have some groups set up, so myself or other colleagues are ready to answer your questions whenever you ask them. Right now, I can answer every question. If there end up being a lot of you, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. But exclamation point Discord, or just go to the YouTube page, or you can go to the Twitch page, and it will show you the link. It will give you the link to the Discord there. Instagram, I'm not posting a lot on Instagram now, but I intend to once I get some free time. Like I said, Mondays and Wednesdays are insane. Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays aren't a lot better, but at least I can find some time to get some work done during those days. But eventually we'll work on this Rice JD Bridge Gaming Instagram. I want to include just some gaming moments and clips from gaming, along with some English vocabulary, some English language vocabulary. It's fun. It's just something fun that I enjoy doing, and it's something that I don't see anyone else doing. So something a little different. And then the YouTube, of course, I've mentioned a few times, BSO_Rice JD. That's me on the good old YouTube. Anyway, I can tell my voice is just about gone. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you follow, subscribe. It's subscribe on YouTube. If you're seeing on a YouTube, come over here to Twitch and follow on Twitch just to get these numbers on the up and up. That way, we'll have more people join us for more conversation, more learning in the future. Everyone take care. Hope your week is excellent. Again, sorry about last night's video. This one, I know we have audio for sure. I've been watching it like a hawk the entire time. Take care, you guys. Catch you soon. Bye-bye.